Next, I'm going to talk about circulation for this Peninsula tank. So with this being my first Peninsula Reef tank, I soon realized that there would be some challenges in terms of circulation. This tank is 6 foot long by 3 foot wide, and what I found out pretty soon is that it can be tough to get sufficient flow all the way down to the end of the tank if your goal is to have power heads and recirculating pumps on just the one end of the Peninsula tank. I really do not want to have recirculating pumps on the sides, obviously, but really on this end panel. I want to keep it clean. I did think a little bit about maybe running some power cords on the edge of this trim right here and try to hide it, but that's something I totally want to avoid. So the first thing that I did, what I thought would be enough flow, I put in 4 Ecotech MP40s. And I played around with the different modes on those recirculating pumps. I initially tried the short pulse mode, and that is really the mode I've used ever since I started using the Ecotech MP40 pumps. So I played around with that, and for 6 foot long in terms of this tank, it just was not enough pumping power. Then I tried Reef Crest, and this was all on 100%. And then I also tried the gyro mode, and it just didn't seem to push enough water all the way to the end. I mean, it was sufficient for the first 3, 4, maybe even 5 feet of this tank, but it just wasn't doing the job I thought at the end of the tank. So that was the challenge. And ultimately what I did was I swapped out 2 of the MP40s for MP60s. And once I put the 2 MP60s on the back panel here, again I started to play around with the different modes, and the short pulse mode just didn't seem to do the trick even with the 2 MP60s in place. I did also play around with the Reef Crest mode. Ultimately I went with the gyro mode for all of the 2 MP60s as well as the 2 MP40s, and I have them all set to 100%. And I really do think that's going to do the trick. I like what I'm seeing here in terms of the flow in the tank. I am very happy that I went bare bottom. I guess that was factored into my thinking in terms of this Peninsula tank, was to go bare bottom because I knew I would need a lot of pumping power at one end of the tank, and just to have all the power heads on that one end panel here. Kind of figured that all the sand would get blown away on this end, and it would be kind of tough to keep it in place. And that really was the case, I believe. So I'm happy with that decision to go bare bottom. One more thing to mention about the modes on the Ecotech MP40s and MP60s, I did play around with the tidal swell mode, and actually that was generating too much surge and random flow in here. It was getting to the point where I was cranked up, where some of the water was getting close to going over the side of the Euro bracing, so it was moving pretty good. So I really do think the gyro mode is the perfect mode for this tank. Will I need more pumping power down the road once corals start to grow in and start losing flow due to the growth of the corals? I don't know, maybe. Do I want to potentially think about swapping out the 2 MP40s at the back end of this panel here for another couple of MP60s? I mean, geez, if I do that, things are really going to be cranking at this end of the tank, and I sort of worry about being able to have corals on this part of the reef.
Finally, I want to talk about my return pumps. I have two Royal exclusive Red Dragon 3 100-watt high pressure, 2,400 gallon per hour pumps. I like to have two pumps for a couple of different reasons. One is for redundancy in case I have an issue with one of those pumps. I have an extra one on hand. But I also like to plumb my return pumps into one of them into a frag tank, and I also have another one plumbed into a water change system. So I do have a lot of pumping power coming from those pumps, but I only have them running at 50% or 50 watts for each of those pumps. So I do have more giddy up if I need it with those pumps. But at this point, they are certainly supplementing the job that the MP60s and MP40s are doing.
Anyway, many thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I will put links to Marine Depot and Reefbum in the video description below. See you next time.